welcome to the first ever episode of Wellness Warehouse. This podcast aims to support your mental health and wellness. I want to start by introducing myself first. I'm known to many as CoachTKnee, but my actual name is Taira Knee. I'm a certified life coach and professional counselor. I've studied psychology and became a certified neurolinguistic programming practitioner. Apologize, that's a mouthful. Back in 2014, and am a cognitive behavioral therapy practitioner, for which I received my certification back in 2018. As a practitioner, I'm actively engaged in helping others through their life challenges and working together to create balance and harmony in their life. But we can talk about me more at a later date. On this podcast, I will discuss a variety of subjects that can cause a person to adopt unhealthy behaviors, anchor negative thoughts and emotions, and be caught up in many of today's common stressors and life challenges. During most of the podcast, I'm going to offer my thoughts and ideas in hopes that it will provide you with the tools you will need to find total wellness, mind, body, and soul. Occasionally, I will host a guest who will add value and insight to our topics. I really hope you find these topics relevant and find them of value to your life. I welcome your thoughts and opinions. So on that note, let's begin about discussing some common stressors. What is stress? Stress is a feeling of emotional or physical tension. It can come from any event or thought that makes you feel frustrated, angry, or nervous. Stress is your body's reaction to a challenge or demand. Many situations can cause us to experience stress. I've composed a quick list of common stressors, and I want to visit these each week and unpack how they create stress and how we can combat them together. So over the next 12 to 15 weeks, we're going to discuss each one of these subjects individually on the podcast. That way, hopefully, it'll give you some insight and some tools to combat some of these common stressors. One of them is relationships. Running late or being late for engagements, events, etc. Anger and frustration, that'll be a good one. Talk about lack of gratitude and patience. Usually those things are caused by another stressor. Fear of the unknown or constant worry. Loneliness, feeling burnout, ready to give up. Overextension, feeling strained, too many responsibilities. Buying a new car or home or making a major purchase. Social and societal issues, that should be a good one. Death, divorce, marriage, and job loss or new job. Anytime we have any major event happen in our life, we lose a loved one or we separate or with a spouse or even just have a relationship that we've evaluated that we realize we need to set a healthy boundary and step away from. Anything like that can cause us stress. It also causes a lot of other emotional issues too, anxiety, fear, loneliness, those kind of things. So each week we just want to unpack some of these stressors and just combat how we can, learn how to take care of ourselves better. So I want to talk just for a second about stress and how it affects our bodies. The hypothalamus is a little tiny area in your brain that acts like a little control tower, and it sends messages to your body to disperse stress hormones. When we are triggered, these little stress hormones, they're the same ones that set your body into motion in your fight or flight response. It's almost any stressful situation or any situation that you experience, you can have some or all of the symptoms, racing heart, dizziness, disorientation, tense muscles, erratic or heavy breathing. This response is designed to protect your body in an emergency, preparing you to react quickly. And we're talking about the fight or flight response itself. The stress responses can take a toll on your physical health quite quickly. They can put you at risk for other physical and mental conditions. They make us irritable, give us anxiety, increased headaches, high blood pressure, high glucose. They can even weaken our immune system, quite frequently cause insomnia, and believe it or not, even fertility complications. So stress is really something we want to have control over as soon as possible and have the tools in our toolbox to be able to know, to recognize when something is causing us stress or when we are triggered by something. And it's just so important to take care of ourselves by having this information. So arm yourself. When it comes to your central nervous system, it identifies these stressors. It activates the fight or flight response. And then it tells that little hypothalamus, the little control tower we talked about, to release your stress hormones. Those are adrenaline and cortisol. Cortisol, if you don't know much about that, is that tiny, or I'm sorry, not tiny, but it is that hormone that makes stubborn belly fat. I know that all too well. Over time, continued stress without coping mechanisms can really progress any type. It can cause mental health issues. It can cause you to anchor negative behaviors, anchor negative emotions. So continuous stress coupled with coping mechanisms like poor eating habits, lack of exercise, they just really take a toll on your body. They can shift your weight either way, either a loss of weight or a gain of weight. They can affect your self-confidence, feeling good about yourself. We can start body shaming ourselves. I mean, lots of so many different things that are really tied to that. So I know this is true because I've experienced a lot of it myself, and we'll talk more about that later. So how do we combat these things? Well, I'm glad you asked. They're meant to reduce and alleviate stress. So to know what works best for you, you're going to have to give them a try. I just went ahead and compiled a list of some things that we can do to combat these common stressors. And I'm just going to go through the list really quick. And again, as we go through each episode, we're going to unpack a lot of this. So hopefully it will be of value to you. And during those sessions, you will obtain some information and take notes so that you can apply these tools, these ways to your life, and maybe it'll affect your quality of life. I really hope it does, and I hope that you're able to use these ideas that I'm going to give you and apply them, and that they will make a change in your life, because that is really what I want. I want to encourage you. I want to inspire you, and I want to support you. So I want to begin with mindfulness and self-awareness. You must identify the triggers and behaviors that are causing your stressors. So you have to be mindful of that. You have to recognize, hey, this thing that happened to me, whether it was a person cutting you off in traffic or somebody being hostile with you in a supermarket. I mean, anything. That was the trigger for what caused you maybe to go home and unload on your spouse, or go home and just have a rough evening at home, maybe a bad conversation with someone on the phone, or something. It can trigger other things. So first off, breathing and meditation. So wow, it's hard to even think about these two things, of how much of an effect they can have on our life. We breathe every day. Obviously, we need to breathe to stay alive, right? So you think about breathing. Well, I'm going to dedicate a whole entire episode to breathing techniques. And I know there's tons of information out there on the internet. And I believe there's even, I don't know, a dozen or two apps now that have, how do you say it? Guided breathing activities. I think even my Fitbit watch has something like that, where it will ask you to just do these breathing things for 2 minutes. So lots of information out there, but it is so, so helpful, because it does reduce your heart rate, and it does help you come back, like when you're in a very hostile situation, or that fight or flight response is triggered and you are kind of in that fight mode and you want to relax your body. Just breathing, even that 2 minutes of taking deep breaths in and out, is so helpful. So I'm going to dedicate a whole episode to breathing techniques, and we'll get more in depth about that. I'm also going to give you access to a short article that I wrote a couple years ago. So you can look for that link. I'll actually put it in the podcast post for this episode. And then again, meditation. Meditation can lower your blood pressure. Wow. can't talk this morning, heart rate, and give your body the peace and rest that it needs to repair damages. Um, Sensory deprivation floats are also a great resource. I don't know if any of you have tried any of that, but they're also called oscillation tanks or flotation tanks. They're used for restricted environmental stimulation therapy. It's called REST. Uh, you just go into this like dark soundproof tank, this little pod that's filled with like, usually it's about a foot of water, salt water, and it's lots of salt, so it's very buoyant. You float right on top of it. And you do that for about 60 minutes. It's completely dark inside there. And they say that that 60 minutes that you're in there floating in that tank is worth 8 hours of sleep. Amazing, right? So that's really something you can do to restore your body. And we'll talk a little bit about sleep too. So breathing, meditation, rest, all of these things that we can do that will help us combat our common stresses. Then there's exercise. Obviously, exercise releases endorphins. So if you can get, a walk in on your lunch break, a walk in before work, after work, maybe you're working from home, just getting up from your space at home to go and run up and down your stairs or go for a walk around your neighborhood. Really, really beneficial for combating stress as well. Healthy food choices, that'll be something else. And then I always think volunteer work, being interested in others is also a great investment in ourselves. It takes the focus off our current situation, sure, but giving back often feels really good for us. And so I think that if you were to get into volunteer work, maybe even just a couple hours a month, that would be another way that you could combat stress. And then, of course, a support tribe. These are going to be the people who you share your deepest feelings with, and there's no fear, there's no judgment. They're not trying to fix you, quote, you don't need fixing. You just need someone to support you. You just need a little repair so you can be on your way again. So you really want to look for people that you can put in your support tribe that are really just going to support you, that don't want to always give you advice or tell you what to do. They just want to listen to you. And when you tell them what you're looking for or what you're doing, that they're very supportive of that. So go and search for those tools, tools that you can use for self-improvement. Hopefully, again, this podcast will be one of those. Just don't rely on someone else to give you something that you can get yourself, but teach it to yourself. So go out, learn. Learning is such a great thing. Because really, when we learn, we grow. And when we grow, we're able to develop more. So that's excellent. Again, prolonged exposure to continuous stress can cause us serious risks to our health. So thanks so much for tuning in. See you again next time on the Wellness Warehouse podcast with Coach T. Knee. Stay well.